Hello, in today's video we're going to be talking about emotional safety. We're going to be talking about what it is, whether you have it in your relationship or marriage. If you don't have it, I'm going to share with you why it's so important that you do have emotional safety if you want your relationship to flourish. And I'm going to share with you 6 practical tools that will help you create that all-important emotional safety in your relationship. Now, before we get going, be sure to hit the notification bell and subscribe to my channel so you can be next in line when my next relationship mastery video drops. For those of you that are new here, welcome. And for returning visitors, thank you for coming back. My name is Elizabeth Ritchie. I'm a registered clinical counselor and certified life coach. And for many years, I've worked with hundreds of individuals and couples, helping them to bust through blocks and work through things and create more joyous and fulfilled lives and relationships. So first off, we have emotional safety. And obviously we're talking about something that's different from physical safety. So today's video is about emotional safety. If you have any question about your own physical safety, if you feel like you're not safe in some way in your relationship, whether that's due to physical abuse or emotional abuse, then please seek help immediately with a trusted friend or a mental health practitioner or your doctor. Go and get that support that you need. So we are focusing on emotional safety. And so emotional safety, like what is that exactly in a relationship, in a marriage? That really is when both of you like each other, you're comfortable with each other, you enjoy spending time together, you have fun together, you are both able to be your authentic selves and talk about how you're truly feeling. That is emotional safety. And if we're looking at it from a physiological, a body level, then again, you're feeling really comfortable. You're feeling at ease. You're feeling natural. You don't feel like you have to walk on eggshells. There's no anxiety. Your heart's not racing. You're not trying to guess what your partner's saying or thinking. You're not watching what you say so you don't say the wrong thing and upset your partner. So there's just really a very comfortable, it's a comfortable relationship, it's natural, there's ease, and both of you can be your true selves. All right, I just want to talk for a minute about something called rupture and repair and how it relates to emotional safety in a relationship. So rupture and repair, we have 2 different cycles for it. We have a positive cycle and a negative cycle. So an example of rupture, which can mean argument or conflict or disagreement, you have a couple who has a healthy relationship with emotional safety, and they have an argument or disagreement, and so there's the rupture. And after, both partners move quickly to repair the disruption, to sort of mend over that rupture. So that they may use humor to do that. They may just work through what the issue was and then, just leave it in the past and go on their way. They know how to repair things quickly and in a healthy way. Now, the negative rupture and repair cycle is when there is no repair, really. So an example of that would be a couple argues, maybe one partner or both partners get defensive, maybe they stop talking, they don't want to discuss the issue, they're not interested in resolving it, or they are, but they don't have the skills to do it. They may get angry and yell, they may slam the door, they may walk out of the room. So you've had the rupture, but there's no repair because one person stopped talking or both or has left the room. So there's no repair. So then the atmosphere of the relationship, of the marriage has taken a blow. The emotional safety has taken a blow, has been damaged. Whereas with the healthy couple, they moved quickly to repair things, smooth things over to keep the atmosphere of the marriage positive or the relationship positive and upbeat. So the research has shown with couples who don't quickly move to repair after a rupture, after a disagreement, the research shows that those relationships have a higher likelihood of failing. All right, so let's say you didn't grow up in a home where you saw that emotional safety modeled. Maybe you grew up with parents who didn't know about the healthy rupture and repair cycle, and that there was just ruptures with no repair. Maybe you just didn't have that modeling. And I have to say, that's pretty normal not to have, a great role models as parents. I think a lot of the population kind of falls into that grouping. But the great thing about it is that emotional safety can be developed, right? So even if, let's say, your relationship, the emotional safety was there at the beginning, but it slowly started to erode, that's okay, because starting today, you can start building it back up again and you can strengthen your relationship. So be sure just to keep watching, because I'm going to give you those 6 practical tools in a minute that are going to help you to do just that. All right, let's just take a minute and I want to share with you something you've probably heard of before or maybe not. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And way back in 1943, the psychologist Abraham Maslow came up with this strata, this pyramid of needs. So the first strata is your basic needs. So he's talking about the physiological needs, the needs like shelter, clothing, food, water, rest, reproduction. So basically the things that we needed to keep the human species alive. Safety needs. So, you're living, you've got your basic needs met, but you also need things like protection from violence. So that would be a safety need. You need to have some financial stability in this world in order to, pay your bills and buy those groceries to get you that food that you need. So that would be your safety needs. Your third, love and relationship needs. So love and relationship needs would be like not just your intimate relationships, like with your spouse or your partner, but with your extended family, with your friends, with your colleagues. It could be people on a sports team. So you're getting your belongingness needs met. You feel like you have sort of elevated kinship, strong ties with people, and you feel like you're part of a greater community. Fourth strata would be something like self-esteem and self-respect. So you feel like you're a worthy person, you're deserving of respect from people, you give yourself respect, you feel good about yourself, your self-esteem is strong. And then the fifth, the top of the pyramid, the last strata, is self-actualization. So self-actualization is where the bottom needs are all met, and you now can focus on this higher need, the higher needs of things like learning skills, education, furthering your education. It could be learning an instrument. It could be, learning how to speak a different language. You could be playing athletics. It could be gardening. It's service to others, caring for others, and winning awards and getting recognition from the community. So those are the 5 stratas of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so his reasoning was that if the bottom needs are not met, so for example, we're talking about emotional safety, if your love and belongingness needs were not met when you were a child or as you were growing up, and chances are if you didn't get those needs met, probably your parents didn't get them met either, then it's hard to kind of focus on the higher level ones, because those are the basics that we need to have met for our growth. So I hope that makes some sense to you, how it fits with emotional safety. And don't feel bad if you didn't have that modeling when you were growing up, because a lot of us didn't, and that is probably the norm. And the good thing is, like I said, we can learn how to do this. You get what I'm talking about? Please write emotional safety in the comments section below, so I know that you're getting that. And if you do have questions about it or something seemed a bit vague, please put them in the comments, because I will get back to you. Thanks. All right, so we've been talking kind of higher level about emotional safety and the types of needs that we need to have met in order to fulfill our potential as a human, and how some of us maybe did not get those emotional belonging needs met when we were young, and we may not be getting it in our relationship right now. And so the good news is we can work on that, and that's what the emotional safety, the building of it, is all about. So a few more specific things though about emotional safety, because sometimes people do wonder, what does erode emotional safety? Well, it's the usual suspects, right? It's the things like infidelity. It can be gambling the family's money away, or spending without speaking to the partner first, buying big ticket items. It can be drugs and alcohol and the consequences that flow from drugs and alcohol abuse. It can be, maybe if not outright infidelity, it can be emotional cheating. So, sending text messages to someone who's not our partner or spouse, that kind of thing. Lies, betrayal, anything that's going to erode the trust between you, that erodes emotional safety. So the flip side of all this is, the other aspect we have to look at with emotional safety is that if we want emotional safety in the relationship, we have to be prepared to listen to what our partner wants to tell us. And it may be hard for them to tell us, because these could be things like, I don't love you anymore. I'm not happy in this relationship. What you said last night really hurt and embarrassed me, and saying that in front of our friends. And those kind of statements, we have to take a good hard look at ourselves, and we have to work not to take it personally. And we really have to listen to what is the message that our partner's trying to convey to us here. If they've been unfaithful, there's a reason why they've been unfaithful. Let's look at that. So you're going to be, you want to not take it personally, which I know is hard to do. But you're really just trying to get to the truth of what they're saying. Because if your partner can't speak the truth to you, if they can't be their authentic self, then how are you going to build that emotional safety and both feel safe with each other and learn about each other and learn what's going to make the relationship better, or learn about what's not working? So really important to be able to receive what our partners are wanting to tell us. And so we can't shut down, we can't freak out, we can't yell, we can't, gaslight them, turn it back on them. We need to stay calm, be steady, be compassionate, and listen. And if you do struggle with managing your emotions, and you do struggle with not taking things personally and feeling slighted when you get that kind of feedback, you might want to check out my video on resentment, because that shares a lot of techniques on how to manage your emotions in this type of sort of conflict situation. All right, I'm not sure if I said this earlier, but one thing to keep in mind is that it only takes one person to change the negative interaction cycle. It only takes one person to start building that emotional safety. So that is good news. All right, on to the 6 practical tools that will help you to build more emotional safety in your relationship, to strengthen it, and just the stuff that you need to give your relationship the best possible chance. So number 1 is choose love and compassion. So every time you have a rupture, you want to try to use that love and compassion. Every time you feel irritated and maybe disappointed with your partner or how things are going, try to focus on the positive. Choose that love and compassion. So you have free will. You have the ability to choose. You can choose to react in a not helpful way, like freaking out and yelling, or you can choose to react in a positive way. So if you need to calm yourself down in a situation, do what you need to do to get that peace. Go for a walk, pet your dog, drink some ice cold water, calm your nervous system down. Tell your partner, I still want to continue talking about this, but I just need a 30-minute timeout, and then come back to it. That's one thing that healthy couples do, is that they don't just walk away from the problem and then never revisit it. If they have to, let's say it's bad timing, someone has to go to work or something, then they'll say, look, let's just table this discussion and we'll talk about it after we're both off work and we have more time. So always come back to the issue, choose love and compassion. So that's number one. Number two is you want to be a great listener. I'm sure I've said this in so many videos already, but you want to be a great listener. You have 2 ears and you have 1 mouth, so you want to do double the listening and less talking. And you just really want to be curious to get to know what is it that your partner is trying to tell you. And this ties in with the third tool, and the third tool is be curious. I said that, but ask like open-ended questions. So not just like, are you mad at me? Yes or no. Do you want to talk about it? No. Like those are closed questions. So you want to ask questions like, I noticed when I asked you to take out the garbage, it seemed like you were really quite irritated with me. And I'm just not sure why that is. Could you tell me a little bit more about it? Why is that? So that's a little bit of a broader question than just like a closed question. So number 3 is ask those open-ended questions. Number 4 is you want to use the I messages. So you always want to be speaking for yourself. You want to avoid kind of blanket statements like, you always forget to take out the garbage, or you never remember to take out the garbage. So right away that would get someone on the defensive. Instead, you want to say, I feel frustrated when I have to remind you to take out the garbage, because then I feel like I get turned into a nag for having to remind you, and I don't think that's fair. So you noticed how I used I twice in that sentence. I feel this because of this. So you're not pointing a finger and blaming them, saying you never take out the garbage. You're saying, I feel frustrated when you don't take out the garbage and I have to remind you and I feel like a nag. So there's a difference there, right? The 5th tool is you want to ask yourself, whose lane am I in right now? So one caveat that we all need to keep in mind, myself included, all of us as humans, we all do it, is, whose business are we in? Are we staying in our lane? Are we worrying about things that we can't control? Or are we inserting ourselves into situations that we have no control over? The only thing we can do is control ourselves. We can't control our partner. We can't make our partners change if they don't want to change. And that may involve, setting better boundaries, because that's something that we can do. We have control over that. So we can say, I would like you to take out the garbage each week without me asking. And then, in turn, I'm going to make sure I do the recycling every 2 weeks or whatever it is. I'm going to do the soccer run, or, I'm cooking the meals. So I think that's an even balance. If you do the garbage each night and I do the meals, something like that. You know what I'm saying? So you can't expect your partner to change. You can give them feedback so that they can learn and they can grow, but you can't change another person if they don't want to change. But you can change yourself. You can change how you react by choosing that compassion. You can change how you go about things by setting stronger boundaries, by speaking clearer. And for some relationships, that what you can control might be actually leaving the relationship. So sometimes that's the only alternative that's left if you've tried everything else, but you have control over that. You don't have to stay in a relationship that's making you unhappy. The last one, number 6, for the practical tools to help you build up that emotional safety, is you always want to be catching your partner doing something right. So you want to, the research shows that, it's really good to try to have at least 3 positives, 3 positive to 1 negative. So if we're only focusing on the negative's going to expand. What we want to do is focus on the positive. And so if we catch our partners doing something right, we want to appreciate them. We want to thank them. We want to show them that we love and care for them for doing that. So, hey, thank you. You remembered to take out the garbage this week. I didn't have to ask you. That's so great. Thanks for doing that. It makes my life easier. So that type of thing. So more positives, 3 to 1, more positives than negative. Because if our partner's just hearing negatives all the time, they're just going to shut down after a while. And that erodes the emotional safety. So that's number 6. Okay, so you know what emotional safety in a relationship looks like now. You know all about rupture and repair and what a healthy rupture and repair cycle looks like. You're also aware of Maslow's hierarchy of needs and how that fits in with emotional safety. And you have 6 practical tools to help you build up that emotional safety in your relationship. So if you got good value out of today's video, make sure to give the video a like, subscribe to my channel, and that way you will be in the know for when my next video on relationship mastery drops. Until next time.